Hey y'all, welcome back for another video. So today we're going to be talking about stage 3 of instrument training. It's going to be a pretty quick video. Stage 3 has been the quickest stage and the shortest stage of them all, but the funnest because now we actually get into the cross country stuff. So without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, so hopping right into it. So the stage 3 of my Jeppeson instrument, part 141, pretty much consisted of about 4 flights. Really wasn't anything crazy compared to stage 1 and stage 2. But the amazing part was that now we finally were able to go and experience real world IFR. So we actually got to file flight plans and then depart into partially IMC, even VMC, but just, under IFR rules. So then we actually got to go ahead and learn how to file the flight plan and then, pick up my IFR clearance, which is going to be craft. After that, then we went and started doing our cross country. So our first flight was from KVDF, Tampa Executive, to K Lee, which is Leesburg. Pretty easy flight, nothing too crazy. Honestly, first time being at Leesburg, and what a beautiful airport it was. I mean, I was under the foggles, but once we broke out and then I was able to see the landscape and outside the airplane, God, it was beautiful. It was just surrounded by lakes. They even have one of their runways is actually for seaplanes. So pretty amazing airport. Definitely want to go and visit again, not on a training flight. All right, so then once we completed that simple cross country just to Leesburg and back, then we were able to go ahead and do our long IFR cross country flight. So what that consisted of is going to be regardless of if you're part 61 or part 141, and it's a 250 nautical mile instrument flight with landings at 3 different airports, and then also you have to have the 3 different types of approaches flown. So one was a RNAV into Lakeland, the second was an RNAV, it was a VOR into Lakeland, and RNAV into Marco Island, KMKY, and then we did an ILS back into Tampa Executive, runway 23. If you're familiar with Tampa Executive, you know that runway 23 is super, super common for the RNAV and the ILS typically, and it's people a lot of the time joke around about it because usually runway 5, which is the opposite runway, is the one that's active, and there's always instrument aircraft doing training going the opposite direction. So in an uncontrolled field, it's quite the cowboy experience. All right, and then after our long IFR cross country, which was an amazing flight, absolutely amazing, then we had a cross country, which really wasn't a cross country. It wasn't 50 nautical miles, but it was basically just a training flight to simulator cross country. Talk to ATC, get your craft clearance, and then shoot an approach. And we went from KVDF, Tampa Executive, to KBKV, which is Brooksville. And that flight was pretty interesting just for the fact that you have to pretty much get everything set up on the ground. And then as soon as you depart, I mean, within 4 or 5 minutes, you're already at your initial approach fix for the, depending on, of course, what approach you pick. But for us, it was like 4 or 5 minutes. So it's good in training because you're pretty much scrambling. You got to get the weather at the airport. You're talking to ATC. You got to try to get vectors or get yourself situated before you even shoot the approach. So that was a pretty amazing flight. Pretty simple, pretty easy. I think it was like a 1.2 or something like that. Nothing crazy. And then make your way back to KVDF, and then that flight was basically lesson flight, but it was to set up for your stage 3 check. So then once we hopped into our stage 3 check, it was me and a check instructor, and then we sat down for maybe like, I'll say, an hour and a half of ground. He basically asked me just a bunch of questions in regards to what you need to know and testing my knowledge, getting me ready for the check ride, because this is the last stage check before the check ride. And then once we were all pretty much good with that, then we went and did the flight. The flight was pretty simple as well, just right back to Brooksville and back. So like I said, fairly simple. Wasn't too bad at all. I don't think you even go above 2,500 feet altitude. So you stay pretty low. You stay within the Bravo. And then after that, we have right into our EOC. So do an EOC check, which is you combine stage 1, 2, and 3. And then you want to basically make sure that you're still solid on everything. For me, it took me about 7 months between when I started instrument to when I finished. So for me, stage 1 was 3, 4 months ago. So it's like now I'm trying to remember stuff that not necessarily I forgot, but might not be as fresh. So you start studying, you get everything set up, and then once you're ready, you go take your stage, your end of course exam. Excuse me, and then during that end of course exam, you basically go through everything, and it's basically a mock check ride. So very, very helpful. Definitely was able to give me that experience and and show my knowledge as far as cross country flight planning, decision making. Going through your PAVE checklists. What type of equipment that you need. Is the aircraft good? Is the weather good? Am I good? So once you go through all that stuff, you'll get signed off by your instructor. You pass your end of course, and then you go take your check ride. All right, so like I said, pretty easy, pretty simple video. Just about 4 flights for stage 3, nothing crazy. But it was very fun because we got to experience all of that cross country time, which is honestly wish personally that we would have gotten more of that in previous stages instead of just, because the lessons in stage 1 and stage 2 were just you go up and you just do like 4 or 5 approaches just back to back to back. You're just pounding them out, which helps out a lot because then you get more proficient in it. It's kind of like in your private training where you're just doing touch and goes and touch and goes and touch and goes. But for this, you're shooting approaches, approaches, approaches. Then you start that cross country, and then everything starts clicking. You start feeling like a real pilot. So once again, thank you so much for watching. Tune back in for the next video. Next video is going to be about my end of course check ride and with the DPE and how I did. So if you're ready to see that, go ahead and subscribe, like, and comment, and I'll see you in the next video.